small town tucked between the brown hills of Kaduna, there once lived a family that looked perfect from the outside. Amina was gentle and graceful, a woman whose eyes carried both love and worry. Her husband, Ibrahim, was a mechanic, strong, respected, and feared. Their two children, Sadiq and Fatima, filled the house with laughter that once healed the hardest of days. But love, as pure as it can be, sometimes bends until it breaks. Each morning began with the faint call to prayer echoing over the roofs, the smell of groundnut oil, and the sun spilling through the broken window curtain. But one morning, the peace cracked. Ibrahim came home drunk, his shirt stained, his temper already set aflame. The food Amina had made was cold, and he saw in that a reason to unleash his frustration. His voice thundered through the walls. The table shook. The plate shattered, scattering rice across the floor. The children hid behind their mother's wrapper, learning in that moment the heavy silence that follows fear. By noon, the entire street had heard. The neighbors whispered as they fetched water from the communal well. They said she would one day die in that man's hands. Amina heard them, but she said nothing. She smiled the kind of sad smile that hides more pain than it reveals. When her friend Zainab urged her to leave, Amina only whispered that she had nowhere to go with two children. This was her home, broken as it was. Like a clay pot with cracks, she still carried water. That night, the moonlight fell softly across the room as Sadiq sat beside his mother, gently cleaning the wound on her arm. He clenched his fists, and though he said nothing, his silence spoke of a fire burning quietly in his young heart. Amina placed a hand on his shoulder and told him to pray, not to hate. She told him that one day his father might change, but inside, she no longer believed her own words. Outside, Ibrahim sat on the veranda, staring into the dark sky. For a brief moment, guilt washed over him, but pride came quickly to bury it. Days later, the sky grew heavy with the rain clouds. Ibrahim lost his job at the garage after insulting his boss. He came home that afternoon furious, blaming everyone but himself. He shouted that Amina had cursed his destiny, that she had turned his life into dust. The children trembled as thunder rolled outside. Then came the sound of another strike. This time harder, sharper, crueler. The rain broke open the heavens and poured without mercy. Neighbors rushed in when they heard the screams, but by then Amina was already lying motionless on the floor. The rain carried streaks of blood into the mud outside the door. At the hospital, the air smelled of iron and disinfectant. Amina lay still, her body fragile, her eyes swollen shut. Sadiq and Fatima slept on a wooden bench beside her bed, their small hands intertwined. The doctor told Ibrahim that if she didn't rest, she might not survive the next time. The words echoed in his mind. Next time. That night, for the first time in years, tears fell from his eyes. But when morning came, he wiped them away and returned to his pride as if nothing had happened. Before dawn, Amina made her decision. She packed a small bag, 2 wrappers, clothes for her children, a Quran, and an old wedding photo. She shook Sadiq awake quietly, telling him they had to go before his father rose. Barefoot, they walked along the dusty road, their shadows stretching behind them like a ghost. They reached Zainab's compound before sunrise, and for the first time in a long time, Amina breathed a fragile sigh of relief. But peace is a delicate thing, and anger has a way of finding those who flee it. By nightfall, Ibrahim found them. He burst into Zainab's courtyard like a storm. He dragged Amina back home before the eyes of everyone, her bag tearing open, her clothes scattering into the dust. She wept, not from the pain of his blows, but from the weight of humiliation, from realizing that even escape had betrayed her. That night, the house was filled with silence. The moon hid behind clouds, and even the crickets refused to sing. Sadiq lay awake, listening to his mother's muffled sobs from the other room. He turned and saw his little sister sleeping, clutching their mother's scarf. He rose quietly and walked to the corner where his father kept his tools, his small hand wrapped around an iron spanner. He didn't mean to kill. He only wanted the noise, the shouting, the beating, the endless crying to stop. When Ibrahim struck his mother again that night, something inside Sadiq broke. He shouted, telling his father to stop. Ibrahim turned toward him in rage, his eyes bloodshot, his voice trembling with pride and fury. In that moment, time slowed. Sadiq swung the spanner with all the strength his anger could lend him. A heavy sound followed, the kind that doesn't echo, because silence swallows it whole. By dawn, the police had come. Amina sat on the floor, numb, holding Ibrahim's lifeless hand. Sadiq stood beside her, shaking, his face pale, his eyes hollow. Fatima was crying in the corner, too young to understand what death meant. The neighbors watched from the gate, their whispers now quiet, filled not with gossip but with sorrow. The once lively home now felt like a tomb. In the days that followed, Amina was questioned by the police. Sadiq was taken to a juvenile home. Fatima was sent to live with a relative in another town. The house stood empty, its walls still bearing the cracks of every fight that had happened inside. Months passed. When the rains returned, Amina visited her son in the correctional home. The boy who once played football barefoot now sat quietly, his eyes older than his years. He didn't smile when he saw her, only lowered his head. She told him that his father had wanted to change before he died, that he had whispered an apology she hadn't heard until it was too late. Sadiq wept, saying he never meant to kill him. He only wanted him to stop. Amina held him close and wept with him, her tears carrying both forgiveness and regret. And so, the story of that family ended where it began, under the same roof that once sheltered love, laughter, and hope. A home that pride and violence turned into a graveyard of memories. Ibrahim's rage destroyed the people he claimed to love. Amina's silence kept her chained, and Sadiq's desperate act took everything that was left.